Hi, I'm Andy Biggar and I'm here to share some of my top dog photography tips with you. Tip 1, camera. I am lucky enough to be using the Canon 1DX, which has a frame rate per second of around 12 frames. When I first started, I started with the Canon 20D, which had a frame rate of about 4 frames per second. And this was a great way to start because what it did is it managed to hone my skills. With the practice, I've learned timing. When the dog was jumping, I actually felt through the camera exactly the right moment to push the shutter button and get that shot. So don't rely on your technology. It's not about buying the most expensive camera. Understand what is happening in the camera, hone your skills. That's far more important. Tip 2, lenses. The one lens that I couldn't live without is the 70-200 2.8 lens. It's incredibly sharp, the autofocus is incredibly fast, and it really does help me to capture those fast action dog photography shots. However, there are less expensive alternatives. There could be third-party makes, for example. And also, before you buy a lens, what I would do is hire one. Make sure that it's the lens for you, that it works correctly with your camera and you're comfortable with that lens before you go out and spend your hard-earned cash. But this isn't the only lens that I use. I also use the 24-70 lens, and that allows me just to get a little bit closer to my subject, to the dog, and maybe get those more detailed shots, for example, concentrating on the eye area. It also allows me to get those wider angle shots for maybe the group shots of the dogs, or the group shots that include the owners and the handlers as well. Tip 3, get down into doggy world. Okay, I spend most of my time during a photo shoot on the floor, lying on the floor, looking straight into the dog's eyes with the lens. Okay, by this way, the images have far more impact than you standing over the dog and shooting downwards. Now, obviously, if you're lying on the ground, as I've mentioned before, it could be wet, it could be cold. If you're cold and uncomfortable, you're not going to be able to concentrate and the image quality is going to suffer. So make sure that you've got some good outdoor gear, good jacket, good waterproof trousers, some boots, some gloves and a hat if you need be, okay? I can't emphasize how important that is, so be protected. Tip 4, keep the session moving fast. Dogs get bored very easily. If you stand around fiddling with your camera too much, trying to get settings, your subject is gonna get bored very quickly. So what you have to do is make sure that the session is fun for all concerned, that's the dog, and the owner as well. That's really important to ensure that you capture the true character of the dog. And at the end of the day, guys, that's what the client is looking to buy from you. A good portrait that really encapsulates the character of their dog. So make sure that your camera is ready at all times. Taking lots and lots of pictures, keeping your frame rate high, making sure that you don't miss any moments at all. Keep an eye on your ISO level. Make sure if you're using aperture priority that there is enough light entering your camera to make sure that you get the correct shutter speed that's going to make your pictures nice and sharp. Tip 5, get some help. The hardest thing is photographing your own dogs because you are there, you're lying down on the ground, you're trying to catch your own dogs on your own, you're trying to get their attention, you're holding treats up, you've got the camera in one hand, you just can't keep things steady. Get some help, work with the owner, get them to help you so you can concentrate and again, getting the character of the dog, getting the shots that you know that the owner is going to like. Or if you're lucky enough to have an assistant, get somebody to come in and help you run that session. It really does make a huge difference. Tip 6, bribery. Make sure that the owner brings some treats with you, some favourite treats, maybe a bit of sausage or some gravy bones or something like that, that you know that the dog really enjoys. Or it could be a tennis ball, or it could be a little squeak that you could use just to get that dog's attention. It's all about keeping the dog's focus on what you want, so you can get that look at the camera or maybe away from the camera, but you are then able to direct the dog in order for you to get the best shots possible. Tip 7, variety. During the photo shoot, you want to take a variety of shots. It could be an action shot, it could be a portrait shot, it could be trying to capture the relationship between the owner and the dog, but make sure that you cover all bases. It's key that you get a pre-shoot consultation with your client to understand what they're looking from the photo shoot. So during the shoot, you can concentrate on getting the images that potentially they're going to buy. So make sure you get your action shots, your detailed portrait shots, and get those shots of dog and owner together. Tip 8, choose your location wisely. The location of the shoot is key. This means that you're going to get the photographs that you want. So it's choosing a location that's safe for the dog. This is so important. You don't want a location where potentially the dog could be at risk from itself, or an environment where there could be livestock around. This is just a recipe for disaster. Make sure that the area is going to be quiet and you're going to be undisturbed. If you're going to a location that the client has chosen and you've not been to before, take a few minutes before the shoot starts, walk around, try and get an idea of the best locations for the shoot. Try and get as much of a brief from the client before you actually go on the actual location, and make sure it's suitable. If your client is coming to you and you've already chosen the locations, again, consider these factors. Clear backgrounds. Are you going to be able to get some nice tonal textures, the variety of shots that you want from your photo shoot? And at the end of the day, hopefully produce photographs that your client is going to want to buy. Tip number 9, protect your gear. Because we're going to be working outside, it could be raining, it could be cold, etc. So we've talked about protecting ourselves with clothing, but also we've got to protect our gear. This is expensive kit. So make sure that it's housed in a good waterproof bag, that it's not going to get damp. And it's not just your cameras and your lenses, but remember those memory cards. The memory cards are holding the photographs that you've taken during the shoot, and they're the things that potentially your client's going to buy. So buy yourself a little protective pouch, something to keep them nice and safe in during whatever weather conditions that may throw themselves at you. Tip 10, prepare for the shoot. The night before, you should be checking that your batteries are charged. If they're not, charge them up, put them in the camera, check that they're fully charged. Format your memory cards. If you've used them recently and they've got pictures on, format them. Don't leave it till the next morning. If you've got an early start, your alarm's going at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're stumbling out of bed, you're not going to be at your best. So prepare your kit bag, get it all ready, zip it up, leave it by at the bottom of the stairs, whatever. But in the morning, you can grab your coffee, grab your bag, you know you've got everything. So when you turn up on location, you can unzip your bag and you're all set to go. I'm Andy Biggar, aka The Dog Photographer. See you soon.